Well, hello and welcome to Will Henry's Workshop, where the next move is always a mystery, to me anyway. A lot of people might wonder why I seem to skip from job to job and how do I ever keep things straight? Well, I don't. And I do skip from job to job, and we're going to continue that way. Anyway, I actually made a video about checking the bedding on Wayne's rifle here, and somehow managed to screw up the audio on it, and so we're going to kind of redo that. So let's spin you around here. So I've got the rifle here, and all I've got is just a clamp on the barrel that with a steel top, so I can clip my magnetic base onto it. And then an indicator sitting against the forearm of the stock. And the idea is that by alternately loosening the front and rear screws on the action, you can get an idea of how stress-free the bed is by the amount of deflection. Now, of course, I can't do it with the rifle hanging in the vise from the barrel like that, because the weight of the rifle is hanging there, and there's bound to be some deflection just from that. Likewise, I can't hold the rifle by the stock in the vise because the weight of this barrel is enough to flex the action to a certain extent and give you a reading of deflection that isn't really there. So let's see. I guess we're okay. I'll just try to stay out of the way. So in order to check this and have it be meaningful at all, now I can move this up a little, maybe zoom in a little, and then actually get the, okay, so there, and I can zoom in some more. Okay, there we go. Now, so if we stand the rifle vertical and try to avoid any induced flex, we can get a fairly good idea of what we've got here. Now, of course, I cleverly started all of this without the... This is a very long and heavy rifle. So it becomes especially important to hold it this way when we're trying to get a reading. Now it's also, if a person had just a hint of dexterity, you could probably do these things a lot better. Okay, there we go. So there we are. I'm going to set this to 0. And just as a demonstration, I'm going to just lightly, and I'm not putting more than 3 or 4 pounds pressure on that barrel. As you can see, it easily deflects 0.003 of an inch. So that's the importance of, like I say, trying to avoid that. So we loosen off the front screw. And we can see that the barrel lifted up by about 0.006 of an inch. Tighten that up again. And once again, we've got 6, even 7 thousandths of an inch with the front screw loosened off. So that would indicate that the bedding is high in the center. So do a little bit of, and I would expect now, when I loosen off the tang, that there will be very little change, because I don't think that at the tang, and there's 1,000th of an inch of movement in the same direction, and I expected very little, because again, the flex is here. Now I want to show you something else, if I can. By squeezing in the middle here, I get no deflection, because it's already contacting. But let me show you something. We're going to put the rifle in the vise sitting on the stock, so we have all the weight of that barrel hanging out there, and that's a substantial amount of weight. Now let's down some more movement here. Sorry about that. Okay, and some more zooming. So you can see that just having the rifle sitting this way with the weight of the barrel there, we've already got 3 thousandths of an inch of deflection. Now, so this bedding being high in this, I think the reason that the bedding was high was that the rifle was bedded with no support out here, and so it was actually stressing the action when it was bedded. So the bed reflects that. Now, I'll see if I can show something else here. As you can see, if I squeeze on the action now with the rifle horizontal, if I just press in the middle of the action, I can remove that deflection, and in fact I can, and then by pushing down, of course, I can deflect things, but by just squeezing on this and not pressing down, I can still deflect the middle of that action enough to get back up to 0. So this is something that you really have to look for when you're bedding a rifle like this with all this weight hanging out here. You can't just screw it down onto your pillars and let everything set up and feel that all is right with the world, because trust me, it won't be. Instead, the barrel has to be supported out at this end, and then a good way to do it is to support the barrel here and here at the front of the forearm and just ahead of the recoil lug, with layers of masking tape or whatever you want to use to fill that gap, and get it so that the action is sitting as you want it to sit. Then you do your bedding, and there's no stress on the action whatsoever. The bed then comes out as a reflection of the action in a stress-free state. So, because this rifle showed that 6 thousandths of deflection, which isn't awful, but because it showed that 6 thousandths of deflection, I think that I may go ahead and rebed it, because the truth is it's flawed. Before I do that, though, one thing I am going to do is I'm just going to relieve the bedding behind the receiver ring and in front of the trigger group so that there's no contact between the stock and the receiver in that center portion. And then we're going to recheck it and see what we get that way. So we're going to pause now. In fact, we're going to more than pause. I'm going to actually shut the camera off while I do that. And then we'll check it again after that's done, and we'll see what it looks like. And if it looks good, I may go ahead and load some ammunition and test it that way. But if it doesn't look good, then I'll definitely rebed it. And ultimately, I may rebed it anyway. But what I'm trying to do here is diagnose an issue. I think that the bedding is the issue, but we're going to. There's no way to know that unless we can fix it and then test it out. So, and for just the next little while, I'm going to be out. Well, welcome back to the workshop here, where I did go in and I cleared this bedding in the middle enough that I could slip a piece of paper down in there on both sides, and so it's clear in here, but it still shows about 0.06 of an inch of deflection when that screw's tightened and loosened. So what's happening is that up at this point, up at the receiver ring, that bed isn't as level as it probably should be. So I don't see any other option other than to rebed that. And so that's what'll be happening next. Hi, Will Henry back again. I just wanted to show something that I'd noticed while I was prepping this. Just zoomed in here, if I can. Okay, I think probably not really visible on the camera is on the bottom of the receiver. There's a slightly shiny area right behind the front guard screw. And that would indicate that the receiver was bearing heavily there, while possibly not touching at all immediately behind the lug. Now, when looking closely at the stock, I could see, and you could see it too if I could get it in the right place. Okay, I could see right behind the screw there a layer of bedding that's standing just a little proud of the rest of it. And what I think happened here is that the person doing the bedding, when he bedded it, he had a void here. So he endeavored to fix that by filling it and then clamping the receiver back down in there using the guard screws. And because of the weight of the barrel and so on and so forth, that ended up, his attempt to fill that void ended up just a little high. And it's not by a lot, but it's probably by a couple thousandths of an inch. And a couple of thousandths, if you move that out to here, could easily be the 6 or 7 that we were seeing on our indicator. So we're going to eliminate that. Filling a void like that, while it can be done, is almost never 100% successful, just for this reason. And if I have to fill a void, then I figure on having to go in and smooth that down afterwards. And if anything, I'd rather have no contact there and let the important part do the contacting through the rest of the bed. Filling the void in that case is just cosmetic. as it was here. So anyway, that's we'll endeavor to have no voids, and if we do, we'll just have to go ahead and deal with them. But like I say, hopefully we'll have none. As I said, we're going to bed with clearance in the center portion, and we're going to bed at the tang, the receiver ring. Everything else is going to float, and hopefully everything's going to work out just dandy. Now, as you can see, I've taped the bottom and the front of the recoil lug. Now, I've left the sides bare because, as I said, I decided it was okay in this case to let the sides of the recoil lug contact in order to combat any reactionary torque from firing. And this is something that some people have always said was a problem with the round-bottomed actions. I'm not so sure that it was, but nonetheless, this is how we're going to do this one. And so anyway, I'll get back at it. And when I have something new to report, I'll come back. Until then, this is Will Henry, out. I said I'd come back when I had something to say, and here I am, and I do. So I've taped this center section off with one layer of masking tape. That'll be adequate, I'm sure. And then I've put on my release agent, which for me means paste wax. And the thing is with release agent, paste wax, is you want to be sure and cover every surface that's likely to come in contact with epoxy. And in my case, this means just about every surface in the shop. And sometimes I think I should apply a layer to my shoes. But since we're working on the action, we're going to concentrate on that. So anyway, I put release agent on the action, the tape, everything. So this part is ready to go now, and I'll set it aside, and then I'll prepare the stock. When I'm done cleaning out the stock, removing the existing bedding, then I'll put release agent on the outside of the stock, especially along the top edges as well. And that just makes cleanup easier. I try to clean up the bedding compound as I go so that it doesn't overflow. But in case I miss some, the wax makes it easy to just pop it off. And there you have it. So anyway, once again, we'll make this short and sweet. And once again, here's Will Henry checking out.